Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On the GoPro right now, and wanted to film a video going over my experience and just kind of talking about the last 50 nights in the GFC, because tonight will actually be my 50th night. It's kind of a tongue twister there. 50th night in the GFC, and kind of just wanted to honestly talk about my very first trip in the GFC, which was actually last October. Some other trips that left memories and were probably some of my favorites as well. Kind of just maybe show little snippets on the screen of those, and yeah, just kind of talk about that, show some other products that I've been using recently that I really like as well. And yeah, so right now we're actually outside or towards Wisdom, Montana, at this super awesome spot. We're gonna go ahead and just flip that camera around here so you can kind of see. Nice little stream. We've got Odie here. Yeah, so right now we have Starlink going, as you can see up there. We've got the EcoFlow going. Probably looks like it's flickering, but yeah, we're getting some solar here from the EcoFlow 220 watt panel. This thing's amazing. I love this unit. Solar panel and the EcoFlow has been a game changer for me. This is the EcoFlow Delta 2. This is the 1024 watt hour model, so it's kind of like the middle, I believe. The next one up from this is like 2000 watt hours, and then the one below this is like right around 500, I believe. So this is good. It'll power the Starlink for a good probably about 24 hours, depending on the draw and obviously the signal. So that's another thing with Starlink, is unobstructed area will result in less power draw versus if the dish is constantly trying to search for a signal. And when I pulled into camp here too, I kind of positioned myself in a spot where I knew the dish would probably point, which is northwest or northeast. It usually ends up being that direction, and it happened to be that way. So yeah, and then we'll just pop in here really quick before I set up the bigger camera. Kind of show you, just answering some emails up here. So got this from Amazon. This is just a ergonomics computer stand, RGB gaming keyboard, and the computer is also being charged or powered by the EcoFlow as well. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Probably hop on the big camera, get some footage, and start talking about some things. Hope you enjoy the video. All right, everyone. Yeah. So, 50 nights in the GFC for 2023. I have technically spent more than 50 nights in it. If you count it last year, I believe I camped only maybe a handful of times. Since I got it in October, it was pretty chilly, pretty cold. I also didn't have the diesel heater set up correctly. So that was kind of a first learning experience with that. And also too, like building out the GFC, I didn't have a garage, I didn't have the space, I didn't have a warm area to actually work on it. So that was another difficulty for me. So yeah, really beginning of spring in 2023 is when things really started to take off. And I've spent a lot of time in the GFC this summer. It's actually crazy to reflect and look back at some of the trips that I've taken, where I've been. I just did 9 days, drove down to Mountain Expo West, went through the Tetons, spent a couple days there. I drove down to a friend's house in Denver, and then came back, spent more time in the Tetons, went through Yellowstone, and yeah, it's really incredible. Like, when I built the truck from the very beginning, I never expected to be going all of these places and camping as much. I remember when the GFC forums, like Thane and all those folks who is a GFC employee and moderates the forums, they came up with this thing called pudding. Essentially, you would post, your campsites, or basically the number of spots or locations that you've camped by taking a photo. And there's badges. And basically 1 to 50 nights is a weekend warrior, and then 50 nights to 100 is basically a weekend legend. And I remember thinking, man, it'd be cool to be, you know, get that weekend legend and hit 50 nights. And here we are, and there's still time left in 2023. So at this rate and, you know, kind of the roll that I'm on, I feel like maybe 65 nights is actually in reach for hitting that in the GFC. So going back, I have some posts saved, and I'm going to throw these photos up too, so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about here when I'm going through some of these. The very first night actually in the GFC, and this was in 2022, but I want to talk about this because that first experience was memorable to say. So it was October 29th of 2022 was actually my very first night, and we went down past Darby, Montana. It was myself and my girlfriend, and tried to get to a hot springs back in the backcountry that was pretty far back. It's actually probably about 15, 20 miles back on a dirt road. And October 29th in Montana, if you're from here or if you're not from here, you may understand like winter rolls around quick, and unfortunately it had snowed the week before that. Trying to get over a pass that was about 7,000 feet back on a dirt road, and just couldn't get to the spot. So we ended up camping at this one spot. It was awesome. It was a little bit chilly. It was really the first cold week of the year, or I should say fall. And anyways, we had the diesel heater going that night, thought it was going to work, shut off halfway through the middle of the night. And that was just brutal. Like when it got down to about 26 degrees at night, and you haven't felt that for a while, it's fucking cold, okay? So anyways, that was the very first trip. It was great. Really nothing was done to the GFC besides having the drip rails, and I cut out some carpet for the back. So like getting in and out on my knees, it wasn't bad. Other than that, like it was bare bones. It was empty in the back, and I'll show you guys a photo of that. I did have a pack out case, one of the Craftsman's, and essentially what I had in there, which was like cooking stuff, basic necessities and stuff like that. But yeah. Other than that, it was bare bones. The truck was super light. It's still light right now as it sits. Like the GFC is super light, and when you add that 250 pounds or 275 pounds to the rear, like it really doesn't make the truck drive any differently. And that's one thing that I do really like about the GFC. Yeah, so next night, or next memorable night, was actually still in 2022 over Thanksgiving. It was actually Thanksgiving evening. Had dinner at my girlfriend's parents' house, and then after that we actually went and camped and used the diesel heater. And by this point I had actually moved the diesel heater from the original case that it came in to an Apache case, completely understood how to operate the diesel heater. And from my understanding now of using the diesel heater for 2 years and operating it, a lot of the posts that you see online of where, hey, my diesel heater doesn't work, honestly comes down to user error, because you have to adjust the fuel pump setting on them. Otherwise it over pumps, basically clogs it, and you'll get a lot of this white smoke. And then I think it's called smut or something. Yeah, I just went blank on what it's called, but it's basically a buildup inside the exhaust pipe, and it basically causes the diesel heater to overheat, shut down, and a lot of times that will happen actually if you're over fueling the diesel heater. So once I figured that out, I ran the diesel heater near the tail end of winter, and actually going into, you know, the early parts of the spring actually for 12 hours flawlessly. Like worked great, no issues, no white smoke, no buildup, no shutdown. So yeah. Second trip, again, was in 2022, but over Thanksgiving, and that was actually with Blake and his wife, Ashley, as well. So there was a huge gap where I didn't really camp from, you know, too much in December. It was just really cold, and then January as well. It was just really cold, and I hadn't really done a lot to the GFC. I had wired up some lights super fast just to get them working, and other than that, like it was pretty much bone stock still. Really this year though started to kick off in February. So February I actually went over towards Hot Springs, Montana, going that direction, and cut off to camp kind of near Flathead Lake. This was February 11th. I'm going to throw up the photo here so you guys can see it. this was a really cool night. The stars were amazing during this night, and I got a really sick photo, obviously what you're seeing now. Diesel heater again ran amazing overnight. It was pretty damn cold that evening, and I believe it got down to probably low 10s, maybe 15 degrees. Ran the diesel heater all night, and I was super warm. I actually believe I slept outside of the sleeping bag inside the GFC because it was so warm. Again, if you get the diesel heater to work in, you know, the environment that you're camping in, and just making sure that you are, you know, using the adequate amount of fuel for the situation, because it changes actually on elevation, and that's what most people don't understand, is if you go from a lower elevation to a higher elevation, you do have to adjust the settings. They're very small, but it does make a huge difference in how the diesel heater performs. And again, if it overfuels and basically smogs up and suits up, that's the stuff. It's called soot in the pipe. So soot will build up, block the exhaust, and essentially shut down the diesel heater because it can't properly excrete or get rid of those fumes. So yeah, February 11th, awesome trip. February 18th, so here we are. Like, we're starting to like put together some consecutive nights. February 18 again was with Blake and Ashley and myself. Cool little spot out towards Frenchtown, Montana, Tucson. There's a nice, huge little like fire pit and chimney that someone built. I don't know. It's freaking cool though. I'd be willing to share that location with you guys if you know, some of these spots I will share, some of them I do like to keep a secret, because a lot of these spots I do search on Onyx and I find them myself, okay? And that's part of the experience of going to these places, when, you know, you look at something on the map and you're like, hey, that looks really cool. And then you finally go there and it's awesome, okay? So part of the experience for me is looking at Onyx, looking stuff up, saving spots. Potentially, you know, it could be a bust, it could not be. And a lot of times though, it equates to being a really awesome spot to camp. So February 18th was with Blake and Ashley and his wife. Again, diesel heater worked great. It actually snowed that night and we stayed warm. Camped again the next night, went down towards Bass Creek. I'll throw up a photo. Again, just kind of a cool spot. Pretty cold, diesel heater worked great. March 14th. So this was an interesting night to say. Again, this was with my girlfriend and myself. And this was actually on the Idaho-Montana border pass, okay? This is actually called Lolo Pass. Driving up, it was sunny in Missoula. It was a little bit cooler. I want to say maybe low 40s, mid 40s. It wasn't like super, super cold. And they were expecting some rain in the forecast, but it wasn't for sure. Anyways, we got up to the top of the pass, and the plan was to go into Jerry Johnson the next day, which is a pretty popular hot springs hike to walk into. Anyways, we set up camp up on the very top. We tried to search for a spot over the pass. Everything was kind of closed. There was still snow, obviously, especially up at the top of the pass. And anyways, set up camp in the parking lot of the pass. Wasn't raining. We cooked dinner, everything, and then once we went to bed, it did start to sprinkle. And in the morning, there was probably 6 to 8 inches of fresh snow on the ground on the truck. So these photos and the video I'll show you guys, I'll link some up on the screen here. It's insane. Like, it's by far the craziest weather experience that I have had thus far in the GFC in terms of like snow. It held up pretty well. There was some intrusion from the snow just because it was blowing a little bit, and closing the GFC in the morning was difficult because there was ice buildup on the rail or the track system. And again, it had rained and then it froze, so there was ice all along there. But yeah, the photos are pretty insane. Great trip. Again, diesel heater like worked amazing in that situation. If you do any winter camping, like, I highly recommend investing in a diesel heater. The other positive thing with a diesel heater is that there's no condensation that forms. So if we had been using like a buddy heater, which is a propane heater, first off, they're pretty dangerous to have because it's an open flame up there. Second off, it basically emits a wet heat. So there's a lot of moisture in the actual propane, whereas like the diesel heater is very dry. So even if you go up into the tent and you are maybe slightly wet or damp because you got, you know, wet from the snow or whatever, like I guarantee you by the next morning, your stuff will be dry and there's zero condensation that forms inside the tent. So that's another huge added benefit. Another trip that was pretty cool was Glacier, and that was in May 27th, again, with myself, my girlfriend, Lake and Ashley. Just a really awesome spot, awesome trip, and that was really the first day and week that a lot of the campgrounds actually in Glacier were opening, so it wasn't too busy and it was easy to find a spot. We did end up camping on Bowman Lake, which I'll obviously show you guys a photo of that. June 5th was another pretty cool trip. This was just with Blake and myself. Very close spot outside of Missoula. It actually only takes about 30 minutes to get here. I don't think most people know about this, but the views are incredible. There's some towers that you can get to, and you can get some pretty crazy views of town if you camp in some of the certain spots. So that was June 5th. I'm going to include some photos of sunrise in the morning, just from the GFC. Made coffee in the morning. And then June 18th. So this was another pretty interesting trip, kind of very similar to the experience on Lolo Pass. So again, this is June 18th, okay? We drove up there. It was myself, Blake, and another individual named Keegan, who also has a GFC. He has the rooftop tent though, since he has a 4Runner. Went up to this peak outside of Missoula. Knew the elevation was relatively high and there was the potential for rain in the forecast, but it was very minimal. So I wasn't too worried about that. Actually was thundering when we got up there that night and wasn't raining when we went to bed. We went to bed relatively late, probably like 11. Awesome spot, no wind at all, and woke up in the morning around 6 to what sounded like rain hitting the side of the tent. Zip open the window and it is snowing. So I'm going to show you guys some photos again on the screen. Like I have snow on the back of the tent on the back panel there, and you can kind of see it in some of the videos here and some of the photos. It's very minimal, but it was 100% snowing in June at the top of this peak. The next one. So June 30th, for the 4th of July, my girlfriend and I actually drove down to Stanley, Idaho, which was super pretty. And this spot was probably one of the most photogenic areas that I've taken the GFC thus far, besides the Tetons, obviously, but the camp spot was magnificent, just amazing. It was truly remarkable, incredible. And the only downfall, mosquitoes were absolutely horrible. Wherever we went in Stanley, where we camped all those nights there, it was just crazy. But again, super photogenic spot. The lighting was amazing on the mountains. There was still snow on the mountains, which added another effect. It was just an overall amazing spot. The next big camp trip was July 8th, which is like, I mean, some of these camping trips, you gotta remember, like, these weekends are like back to back to back. And until I got Starlink, like, we were leaving late Friday and usually camping just 2 nights. Now with Starlink, like, it's Friday currently right now. I answered emails for about 2.5 hours, taking a break. And it's just giving me the ability to actually get out and leave on Fridays or even anytime during the week and work. But back to the talk here. July 8th was at Caruthers Lake, which if you have a 4-wheel drive capable vehicle with high clearance, sliders, underbody protection, I would 100% recommend this lake, and it's a phenomenal spot to get to. It's short enough in terms of wheeling that it's not overly draining, and the reward at the end is definitely worth it. So I'm going to give you guys some photos up on the screen. I'll also put a video. I took some videos of the spots that we went over wheeling. Obviously, like, photos and videos never do the tough spots justice, but I did it in a Tacoma. We both did 34s, sliders, some underbody protection, and it was perfectly fine. And then most recently, kind of just the Teton trip again was super, just like amazing. I can't describe the Tetons. If you've never been to the Tetons,
and seeing them when they're clear and there's like blue skies and just the clouds and there's still some snow on the mountains, like they're just an incredible mountain range. And the Teton National Park is probably my second favorite national park, right behind Glacier. I've been to Zion, I've been to Bryce, I've been to some other national parks, and maybe there is, you know, another national park out there that I haven't seen that might take second or first place. But for me right now, like Glacier's number one, Teton's number second, and this spot was a spot that I found by mistake. Again, just searching on Onyx, needed a free campsite, and there is a lot of roads that go into national forest actually outside of the Tetons that you can kind of just drive up, find some dispersed camping, and that's kind of what happened here. So I camped down below at a lower spot, which I'm going to include a photo of that spot as well. And the road kind of continued on, and the next day I kind of just walked up there and I found this amazing spot that overlooked the Tetons. And yeah, incredible spot. I work there. I actually ran a Zoom meeting too with Starlink again, Starlink for the win. And yeah, that kind of leads us to now. It is September 8th, so those other trips weren't too long ago. And kind of just looking forward to the rest of the year. Like I said, getting an additional 15 nights in the GFC, I don't see it really being a hurdle at all. Who knows, maybe we'll hit 20 and hit 70 total nights for the year. But for me, the GFC has changed how I get out. Obviously, there's some flaws and there's some cons that I've discussed about in previous videos, mainly just with the window and the tent design. Like that's the biggest flaws that I have is, you know, the ventilation and then zipping up the windows. I wish there was ways that we could completely zip everything up. So, you know, if it's windy, if it's raining, or if it's snowing, for example, when I was on top of the Lolo Pass camping there, like it was a little bit cold with the wind coming up kind of below that window and just blowing that breeze in. But yeah, GFC has been incredible, and I'm looking forward to what the rest of this year brings for camping, and then obviously next year as well. Topping this year is going to be tough, but I think if we start early, especially using the diesel heater, it's probably not going to be any problem at all. That being said, I kind of want to walk around and just show you guys a couple things that I've really liked about the setup, and then also just some new things that I've bought this year specifically that have really excelled just the camping experience. One of them I'm actually sitting on right now. This is the Kelty Lounger double person sofa style chair. I'll put the exact name up on the video. This thing's from REI, but it is awesome, especially if you have two people, which normally I do. And if you don't have two people, it works as just like a great chair. So again, you know, you can go like this, you can lounge, you can use the other side if you have a dog. So this has been a great purchase, and I got it for about $120 at REI, which equates to the cost of buying basically two individual chairs. If you want a good chair nowadays, most likely it's going to cost between $60 and $100. So great investment, REI. This is it's just awesome. You can adjust these backs too. So the armrest is either higher or lower. It's got cup holders. I love this thing. And yeah, if you guys want it, REI, Kelty, double person chair. So let's walk around. There's some other things I want to kind of show you just that I've added this year that I really like. All right, so this is the Dometic Go hydration water jug. This is 11 liters or roughly 3 gallons. And this thing is awesome. It is a bougie item, I will just say that. So again, this is just something that I've added this year. I really like using, and there's a couple of reasons why I do like using this. So first off, it's easy to fill up in my sink, the bathtub, before I go on the trip. It comes with a spout on the side, but really what makes this thing stand out is this faucet, or yeah, I guess we can call it a faucet, but basically it is a touch that is automatic, and it basically sucks the water and pumps the water out of the actual jug, and versus, you know, you pouring it out, tipping this on its side or whatever. That's nice for a couple of reasons, because you can leave this upright in the truck, in the back of the bed of the truck, or wherever it may be. and you can basically move this wherever. There's a little magnetic base on it that I have on here as well, and it just works. Super easy to get water out. Cons, it's a little slow. You know, it's not the fastest. The tap is also sometimes finicky, but there's a light at night, which is nice. So if you're filling this up, you don't have to use a flashlight or anything else like that. This is awesome. This is rechargeable as well, and you can get this combination at REI as well, or directly from Dometic. Again, it's a very bougie item. Yeah, it's cool. You know, you just have to figure out if the cost and the worth of it is enough for you, but for me, works great. It's enough water. Like, we only use this for fresh water. I don't wash dishes or anything else with this, and that's the main purpose. So fresh water, brushing teeth, anything else like that, drinking water. But I love this thing, works great, and this faucet is just a game changer. I know there's cheaper ones on, you know, Amazon that you could buy and you could build up or build out, but for me, like, it just works well. It's a great product, and with REI, if anything ever goes wrong, or with Dometic, like, obviously they back the product pretty well. So yep, love that. And let's go ahead and move into the next one. All right, and then I already highlighted this a little bit in the beginning of the video, but this is the EcoFlow Delta 2, and this thing is just a tank. Like, I haven't had it that long, but in the very short time period that I have owned it and how I've used it and just kind of working through using the app with it, this thing is phenomenal, okay? So there's a couple reasons why I went with the EcoFlow Delta 2 versus like a Jackery or even some of the other ones on the market now. Blue Yeti was another contender that I was looking at for a while. The reviews in terms of customer service, though, were horrible. A lot of famous or bigger YouTubers even couldn't even get a response back after purchasing a product review. Like, it's apparent that obviously they need to improve on some customer support side of things, but EcoFlow overall has been an excellent ad. So first off, this thing is rated for 3,000 cycles, which most of the other ones on the market are only rated for about 500. So that was another big selling point for me. The other thing too is this will charge from 0 to 80% off of your AC wall outlet in about an hour. It will go basically 0 to 100% from what I've observed in about 90 minutes, which is extremely fast. So let me give you a little situation with my old power bank that was basically a 500 watt hour, whereas this is just a little over 1,000 watt hours. That one would take nearly 8 hours to charge, okay? So if you forgot to charge it, or if the battery drained for some reason, you haven't been using it for a while, and last minute you're going on a camping trip, good luck getting that to charge in enough time. This one, you don't have to worry about that, okay? You can charge it right before you leave if you forgot to charge it when you got back, whatever it is, but the fast charging off the AC wall outlet is amazing. It will charge at like 1,100 watts is what I've seen, which is just insane, okay? The other thing that is really awesome about the EcoFlow is the app. The app is incredible. It's Bluetooth, and I've had no issues at all connecting to it. I've connected while I'm driving inside the truck just to see if the battery is charging, how much battery I have left. The other thing with it is you can turn on the outlets, which is really, really awesome. The ability to do that has changed how I also use Starlink as well. So a lot of times, like, we'll get up into the GFC, you want to watch a movie, which often requires streaming a movie. And after we stream the movie, or if we decide to stop streaming the movie, I want to turn off Starlink for the night, otherwise it's going to draw too much power over the course of the night, especially if we're not using it. With the EcoFlow app, I can turn off and on any ports that are currently on the EcoFlow. So once we're done, I'll basically just hop onto the app, connect super fast, and I'll turn off the AC port in the back, and then Starlink will have no power. You can also see and change many settings, so you can actually change the rate at which this charges. So if you don't want it to charge at like 1,000 watts or max capacity, you could actually pull that down a little bit, so it will charge a little bit slower, which is better long-term for its health. You can also set the discharge limit. So if you want this thing to cut off all power once it hits 25%, you certainly can. You can also do the same thing for the charge. So if you want it to stop at like 95% before it's at full capacity, you can do that as well. So the app is a huge benefit to the EcoFlow too. And that's something like the Jackery doesn't have, as far as I'm aware of, even their newer models. The older models definitely do not, but yeah, the app is a big game changer, and just the ability to see where you're at, adjust settings, and then also turn off and on the ports is truly just a great addition for the EcoFlow. And in terms of cost, like, it's very competitive, if not cheaper than the Jackery and a lot of the other competitors on the market, and it offers more. So very small. It's obviously a little bit heavier, but that doesn't bother me. It's very sleek, and the design and the shape is easy to fit into areas and store as well. It's got great handles, and then the bottom is covered with some rubber protection, so you don't have to worry about scraping it or damaging that as well. But another just great addition that I've added this year, and I truly do love this thing paired with the 220 watt panel that basically keeps this topped off and can charge if I have full sun, especially like a day to day. So yeah, love the EcoFlow, and that is about all that I want to cover in this video. Those are 3 things: the chair, the Dometic, and the EcoFlow, that I just really love, to be honest. The chair is awesome. The Dometic water jug is pretty slick as well. And then the EcoFlow, I just absolutely love this product so much. So yeah, just a kind of a little bit of a random video discussing the 50 nights in 2023 in the GFC, and then kind of just a couple of my favorite products that I've been using throughout 2023. I'm really excited to potentially add some more and just see what manufacturers are coming out with in 2024. There's a lot of cool stuff, and I saw a lot of cool things at Mountain Expo West, which was just an awesome experience to see everything that is coming out in the market. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and if again you do enjoy the content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to try to pump out as many videos as I can, and if you guys have any requests for videos, you want me to cover Starlink anymore, GFC anymore, anything else like that, leave it down below. Be more than happy to go over anything. With that being said, hope you guys enjoy the video, and see you next time.